The new Speaker of the House, California Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy, Republicans campaigned on fiscal responsibility.
I know the president said he didn't want to have any discussions, but I think it's very important that our whole government is designed to find compromise. I want to find a reasonable and a responsible way that we can lift the debt ceiling but take control of this runaway spending. I mean, if you look at the last 4 years, the Democrats have increased spending by 30%, $400 billion. We're at 120% of GDP. We haven't been in this place to debt since World War II. So we can't continue down this path. And I don't think there's anyone in America who doesn't agree that there's some wasteful Washington spending that we can eliminate. So I want to sit down together, work out an agreement that we can move forward to put us on a path to balance.
Republicans campaigned on fiscal responsibility.
The American public, more than 74%, believe we need to sit down and find ways to eliminate this wasteful spending in Washington.
Republicans campaigned on fiscal responsibility. You promised you won't spend more next year than you did last year. Are you willing to consider any reductions to Social Security and Medicare?
No, let's take those off the table.
Completely.
Yeah, I mean, if you read our commitment to America, all we talk about is strengthening Medicare and Social Security. So, and I know the president says he doesn't even want to look at it, but we've got to make sure we strengthen those. They've increased spending by 30%, $400 billion in 4 years. When you look at what they have done, adding $10 trillion of debt for the next 10 years in this short time period. If you just look a month ago, they went through and they never even passed a bill through appropriations in the Senate.
What?
While Mr. Schumer has been leader, he's never passed a budget. He just never passed an appropriation bill.
What?
He simply waits to the end of the year and allowed 2 senators who are no longer here to write a $1.7 trillion omnibus bill. But you cannot continue the spending that has brought this inflation, that has brought our economic problems. We've got to get our spending under control.
Republicans campaigned on fiscal responsibility.
It is spending $500 billion more than what was projected. They have spent more, and we've got to stop the waste.
Is defense spending on the table?
Well, look, I want to make sure we're protected in our defense spending, but I want to make sure it's effective and efficient. I want to look at every single dollar we're spending, no matter where it's being spent. I want to eliminate waste wherever it is.
Republicans campaigned on fiscal responsibility.
It's like every single household, it's like every single state. We shouldn't just print more money, we should balance our budget. So I want to look at every single department. Where can we become more efficient, more effective, and more accountable?
Republicans campaigned on fiscal responsibility.
We cannot continue the waste that is happening. We cannot continue just to spend more money and leverage the debt of the future of America. We've got to get to a balanced budget.
Well, and I think many people would agree with you on the issue of fiscal responsibility, but Republicans campaigned on fiscal responsibility.
So the responsible thing to do is sit down like 2 adults and start having that discussion. Unfortunately, the White House was saying before, like, they wouldn't even talk. Every family does this. What has happened with the debt limit is you reached your credit card limit. Should we just continue to raise the limit, or should we look at what we're spending? Chuck Schumer never passed a budget since he's been leading. Yeah. He's never passed an appropriation bill. Those are the most basic things that Congress should do. And if you're going to show to the American public where you want to spend your money, and if you're going to ask the hardworking taxpayer for more of their money, you first should lay out how you're going to spend it, and you should eliminate any waste.
Because it matters a lot to the markets in particular.
But what is really irresponsible is what the Democrats are doing right now, saying you should just raise the limit.
Republicans campaigned on fiscal responsibility.
The president and Schumer, they won't even pass a budget. They won't even negotiate. So in the very first week, we have passed what? We repealed the 87,000 IRS agents. We bipartisanly created a new select committee on China where 146 Democrats joined with us. We bipartisanly passed to stop the strategic petroleum reserve being sold to China where 113 Democrats joined with us. We just now, for the first time on the House, it hasn't happened in 7 years, the entire time the Democrats were in the majority, where you had an open rule. And let me explain what that is. An open rule allows every single member of the House to offer an amendment on the bill. So what I'm trying to do here is let every voice in America have their ability inside the House. We opened the House back up so the public could actually join. We changed it where members of Congress now have to show up for work. I know in the Senate they don't come very often, but if you look what we've been able to do, we're transforming Congress.
But you
we're
also
looking for
allowed
solutions.
Just one member now can force a vote to oust you as Speaker.
Okay, but
how can you expect to serve in the next 2 years in this role?
Exactly how every other speaker has served with that.
Without those rules like that
No.
right now. That's a risk.
Okay.
I mean, you really think you can control the Freedom Caucus and some of those more conservative members who gave you such a hard time?
Everybody has a voice. But let me explain that. That one vote to vacate, that's not new. That's been around for 100 years. The only person who took it away when they got a small majority was Nancy Pelosi. So Nancy felt she did not have the power to stay in office if that was there. I'm very comfortable in where we are. So
Okay.
I don't have any fear in that.
70% of the House GOP members denied the results of the 2020 election. You put many of them on very key committees: intelligence, homeland security, oversight. Why are you elevating?
But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that.
So maybe it's not denying. Maybe it's the only opportunity they have to have a question about what went on during the election. So if you want to hold Republicans to that equation, why don't you also hold Democrats? These are members who just got elected by their constituents, and we put them into committees, and I'm proud to do it.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, you put her on a new subcommittee to investigate the origins of COVID. She called for Fauci to be arrested and imprisoned, and she spread conspiracy theories.
Fuck you and your New World Order.
What the American public wants to see is an open dialogue in the process. This is a select committee where people can have all the questions they want, and you'll see the outcome.
You know that there is a lot of doubt about the New World Order.
Oh, yeah. When you saw what happened in Congress where they had proxy voting, where bills didn't go through committees.
I don't think most people know what proxy voting is.
That's not funny.
Approval level of journalists is also not very high. I'll give you that.
People voted by proxy, meaning you didn't have to show up for work. Bills didn't have to go through committee. So what I'm trying to do is open the people's house back for the people so their voice is there. If every single new person brought into Congress was elected by their constituents, what their constituents have done is lend their voice to the American public. So those members can all serve on committee. I would love to be able to come back and have time to answer the questions.
Approval level of journalists is also not very high. I'll give you that.